Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Motivation, the show where we dive headfirst into the most amazing minds. And that is exactly what my guest is today. Someone with an unbelievable mind. She is no stranger to our TVs and she is no stranger to the community. It gives me great pleasure to introduce to you Sister Zahira Bam Ismail. Assalamu alaikum, Zahira. How are you?
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's an absolute pleasure to be sharing this platform with you and long overdue.
It really is long overdue. We've been trying to have this, but with your busy schedule, it's almost impossible. Zahira, I want to dive right into it. It is such an important topic that we want to discuss today. It is the topic of parenting and
Yes.
it is the topic of children. Something that we are struggling with in our homes, something that we are struggling with on a daily basis. And there's not a single parent or child that can tell you, we've got this under control. Is it a really bad problem, or is it something that with the right advice, we could actually fix it up?
I think the saying immediately is it takes a village is true. We took for granted that when we were being raised, it wasn't just our parents raising us, it was entire communities raising us, because that's how difficulty parenting is. I think, we think it comes with a handbook or a manual, and I sometimes wish it did, because it'd be so easy to scroll to the page you need and say, this is how it's done, this is what needs to be done. Mo, you have children with the same parents, same household, same experiences, and every single one is different. And that tells you enough that in every bit of our parenting for every child, we need to adapt and we need to be able to change. We need to be able to be flexible. We need to be able to adapt to what our kids are, to who our kids are, to be able to take the time to get to know our children, get to know their strengths. But parenting is so difficult. And I think especially in this age, I've often said to you, I think we've taken the wisdom of our parents. No, let me rephrase that. We've tried to fix what our parents broke, from what we saw from generations before. We've tried to fix generational trauma so we don't take it forward with us, into our children and into generations to come. But what we failed to take was the wisdom they gave. And our parenting has become so focused on a concept of materialism, and I just need to give my children this. I need to give them what I didn't have. I want to give them these opportunities. But we fail to see the line of being able to say no, that it's okay to do that, because it doesn't make us a bad parent. In actual fact, it probably makes us a good parent. And I think you brought up so many things, and there's so many things to discuss around that. But I think active parenting is something that we miss. Being around your children, being in the house, just being there, doesn't mean you're actually parenting. It just means you're present. But being mindfully present, and as you always say, being heartfully present, is very, very different. And that's active parenting.
You brought up such an important point. Materialism is what we're teaching our kids today. But it just seems that as we drift further into the ocean of comfort and into the ocean of materialism, we're going further away from the shores of happiness. And our homes are struggling to find happiness because of this. So we might feel, I did not have this when I was a kid. I need to give it to my child. But look inside and see how happy you are inside. Maybe that's not what your child needs. Maybe they just need, like you say, to be heartfully present, to be mindfully present, and not just to be physically present.
So I think social media has given us a very warped idea of this happiness. If you think back to your childhood, if I think back to mine, I grew up in a very small community. We were out playing all the time. You didn't know who had, who didn't have. Everybody was the same. We were on our bikes. You literally went to the house where you saw everyone's bikes at. And as long as you were home by Maghrib time, you knew somebody's mother, somebody's father, somebody would have food on the table. You would be fed. You would be fine. And those were the perks of being raised in small towns. And we came from a community that really took care of each other and looked after each other's children. But social media these days has got its advantages. But one of the disadvantages is it's taught us this concept of happiness. So I always say we've lost our anchor. And if we hold on to our anchor being our deen, and we hold on to our religion, we'll understand that if we have that, we have a sense of belonging and we have a sense of going back to our foundation. So when I'm talking about social media has told us, you need this to be happy. Okay, now you've got this, you need this to be happy. You need this to be happy. And it's distracted us from where our focus on excellence is supposed to be. It's distracted us to keep us busy getting and attaining these trivial things that give you happiness. And if you look in the Quran, like even when it comes to marriages, it talks about contentment in your spouse. It talks about peace in your spouse. So in our homes, We shouldn't be looking for happiness. We should be looking for contentment, a sense of peace, and an environment where people feel a sense of belonging, a sense of safety, a sense of home. And if we change our mindset from what does it take, must I buy this to make my kids happy? Must I get this to make my kids happy? If we understand, if you provide a home for your children that is content, that is safe, that is peaceful, that is calm, then you're already winning.
So then it brings me to that age-old question. You know, every generation blames the one before, and it's just the way the world works, right? But are we parenting wrong? Or are the children the ones that are having this warped sense of happiness, this false sense of happiness because of social media? Is it their fault? Is it the parents' fault? How do we find a middle ground where a parent can understand a child and a child can understand the troubles of a parent?
So I don't think we're parenting wrong, because I think that's very harsh to say our kids are wrong or we parenting wrong. But I think it's about finding a middle ground of dynamics that work and of being present in each other's lives. Again, if there was a manual, it would be fantastic. But having said that, I think what we have lost is understanding that if we hold on strongly to our deen and we don't make apologies for who we are, and we understand that if we've got a system of governance that guides the way we should be doing things. So we take a system, we take the concepts of how it's guiding us, and then we use that as our framework. And every family will be different. What works for you may not work for the next family. But if we give our children a sense of belonging and a sense of identity, and that they belong to something so much bigger, it makes our jobs a lot easier. I do think, as parents, we have to listen a little bit more. But we make the mistake, and communication is always a problem. Whether it comes to marriages or it comes with our children, you'll hear teens saying, my parents don't understand a word I'm saying. They don't understand where I am. They don't understand what I'm going through. And children have been diagnosed with anxiety from as young as 11, 12 years old. And we can't discount that during COVID, the lack of social interaction, the lack of being around other people really had a profound impact on many. So this ease of being able to just walk back into society and assimilate and contribute to it, it has been very difficult for many. So when we talk and when we communicate, we need to listen to be able to understand what your child is saying, to be able to reflect what they're saying, and to be able to show that you are there in a level of understanding. And if you're not, continue asking the questions until you can understand what it is they need. But if you're talking and you're listening just to have your own point heard, your communication barriers are breaking down completely, because your children are going to feel they're not heard. So my children often will say to me when I'm very distracted and I'm doing work, they go, you're leaving me on red. And they go, because they know I'm there, but I'm actually not even there. And they can tell that. And they call me out on it all the time, because rightfully, I'm not present. I'm not hearing what they're saying. I know it's in the background. But when we want to actually communicate with people, we need to give them the respect of communication. And we can't expect them to respect us with that, but we don't show the same respect back to them. Take the time, switch off your phone, put it aside, and listen.
I mean, they're always going to do what we do and not what we say. And I think most parents lose it there, where it's listen to what I'm saying to you, but I'm going to be on my phone. I'm going to be scrolling social media. While I'm eating, I'm going to be on my phone, but I expect you not to be on your phone as well. And I think it becomes difficult for a child to understand when they are looking at you, recording everything, setting in their subconscious, and it becomes such a part of their life in autopilot that they're actually not sure what is the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do anymore.
And it's frustrating for them. It's very difficult for them, because understand the number of years we have under our belt in terms of our experiences, what we've been through, what you've gone through. And yet we think, but we were just there. We were just at university. Of course, we know what's happening. The dynamics, however, have changed considerably. And if we're not willing to actually listen to them, to understand where they are, the difficulties they're having, we're never going to connect with them. We make the mistake of saying, but it's such a small thing, you'll get through it. Because why? We think we've been through it, so it's fine, they'll get through it. Unfortunately, they may not have the resilience that we had. They may not have the strength that we have. They may not have the skills that we had, because our kids are very cushioned. They are very protected. They are very soft when it comes to dealing with a lot of situations, and they may not know how to manage it. And why should they have to learn outside in a world where that's so harsh? Give them those skills in an environment that's safe, that's cushioned, so that no matter where they go, no matter how tough it is, they can come home and they know this is their safe space, because every child needs that.
You know, you're saying sitting at home and this is their safe space, but for the first time in the history of humankind. We're actually exposed to the outside world while sitting in our home. So it might not be as safe as possible. But we as parents, if we can educate them, we can show them, we can teach them, and most importantly, we can heal ourselves, we'd be able to heal our children just by being healed individuals. Unfortunately, we've come to the end of this part of the show here. But when we come back, I want to discuss healing, the importance of healing, the importance of gratitude, and the importance of patience. I know it's been so informative for you. I know it's been wonderful. Hopefully, we can take these lessons in and implement it in our lives. And in that way, we can raise amazing children who can be the future leaders of our ummah. See you after the break. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back. Zaira, before the break, we were talking about healing. How important is it as an adult to heal before you try and heal your children?
Very important. I think there are many things that we don't deal with and we don't realize inadvertently comes out in our interactions, whether it's with our children or with people around us. And as I mentioned to you now, I always say at 40, Nabuwat had arrived. So wisdom starts at 40. You have to be able to do better once we know better. So when we're sitting at this age, or even a younger ages, whenever you are a parent or when you're someone and you wonder about the responses you have or the reactions you have and you think, but I'm not this person. Why am I responding in this manner? Why am I reacting in this manner? It doesn't make sense. Take time to self-introspect because I think it's so easy to turn around and go, it's this one's fault. It's that one's fault. That one said this one did that. It's always somebody else. It's about taking personal responsibility, introspecting to try and figure out for yourself at which point did this happen? Why am I responding in this manner? What are the triggers that have made me respond in this manner? And then take the responsibility of wanting better for yourself. Because we need to understand that the children in our trust are an amana. It's not just being able to take advantage and creating chaotic environments where your children are hurt on a consistent basis. It's about understanding that they are an amana, they are a trust to you, and you have to do your best by them. None of us are going to get it right. Not a single one of us are going to get it 100% right. No matter how much our kids tell us they love us or that we're good parents, I promise you there are times when all our children have had issues with us.
Yes.
And I say to our kids, we're not here to be your best friends. We're here to parent you. And that's fine. They're allowed to be upset with you and they're allowed to be angry with you. And they'll, inshallah, if they raise properly and they've learned certain value systems, they'll understand that there's ways of managing that level of being upset with us as well.
Yes.
But I think it is important for us to be able to heal so that we don't pass on that generational trauma to our children. Understand that your children are going to be running their own homes. They are going to be the mothers and the fathers of their own home. They are going to be raising the next generation of the Ummah of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So what you are passing on, don't undervalue or underestimate the power of that.
Wow, that is so profound what you're saying, and it's so true what you're saying. But it brings me to that point we spoke about earlier. We are trying to shield them. We are trying to cushion them. We are trying to keep this harmful world away from them. But then they pick up their phones and they're exposed to all sorts of inappropriate material for their age. Whatever it may be, this world is trying to get into the minds of our children. And they're succeeding in doing it. So we sit with our child for half an hour and we healed ourselves, and now we're trying to heal our child and we're advising our child, and then they pick up their phone for 2 hours and they're scrolling, and all of this is going in, and they're seeing what's happening in Gaza, and they're looking at this world and they're feeling hurt, but they're feeling hatred at the same time. And they're confused because the next thing that pops up is someone dancing. And then there's a music video that comes after that. They have no idea what they need to feel for, what makes them happy, because all of a sudden you've got these chemicals, these emotions, ones that make you sad at one point, and then instantly ones that make you happy or excited the next. And then straight after that, making you want something. So our children are completely confused when it comes to this. What advice can you give to children and parents as well when it comes to handling these type of material?
I think the current climate of normality is skewed for all of us. As parents, as adults, we're finding it difficult to navigate. I mean, I pick up my phone and at one stage, my posts were all blocked. So when I looked at my search page, I thought, how can life be so normal? So much is happening in Gaza at the moment. So much is going on. And life looks so normal on my phone. and I had to take a bit of searching to find what I needed to find.
Mhm.
It's difficult for us to manage. It's difficult for us to navigate. We all feeling this heaviness. We all going to bed thinking, what next? How can there be no accountability? How can we be in 2023 watching this? But when it comes to our children, we have to understand, as much as you say, I control what they watch on TV, if you're not controlling what they're watching on social media, you've already lost control of it. Access to a phone gives them access to everything in the world, but we need to be able to be responsible with it. And that also comes in communication and conversations we have with our children. Honest conversations about what they're allowed to watch, what they're not allowed to watch, what they should be having access to. And if your children are young, I don't see the need for a telephone. I don't see a need for a mobile phone, internet, Instagram, or any access to social media platforms that they cannot manage. And I think everyone can judge where their children are. Some children may be older, but may not have the emotional capacity to manage what they're watching, and it may cause far more anxiety. Don't think that you have to expose your children to everything. Expose it in a way that they can manage it, and be there as a support to guide what they're seeing. So we often have conversations about what we're seeing. How are you going to manage it? And control it in terms of bringing it back again to your anchor. What does your deen say? What does your religion tell you about this? How do you find comfort in this? Mo, we were chatting about the story of Musa, of Fir'aun. And as Muslims, the one thing that we hold on to so strongly is of hope.
Mhm.
Is the strength of hope, is to understand that no matter what the situation is, we read Surah Kahf on Fridays. We know the story of Musa alayhi salam and Khidr. We know the story of being able to trust that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a plan. We may not understand it, but we hold hope. But what we also have is the gift of being able to use our voices and to teach our children to use their voices in an educated, in a dignified manner. We always fall back on our emotions. And we fall back to the way we speak. And I think as Muslims, we're given a concept of Allah tawakkul, of being conscious in our dealings, in our mannerisms, in our talking, and especially in our talking at home. When we're talking to our children about this, understand that even if it's a place where you feel you letting off some steam and you're speaking, your children are listening, your children are watching, and your children are going to replicate this, whether on social media platforms or on public platforms. So if you don't like how they're sounding, understand that it has to have come from home. So when we carry ourselves with a certain level of responsibility as adults, as parents, you have to have that.
Yes.
You have to have a certain level of responsibility in the way you communicate. It has to be paired with dignity. It has to be paired with a certain level of morality, and it has to be paired with a value system. And understand that in those conversations you're having in your home, your children are going to pick up on that, and that's what they're going to be taking out. So we have to be responsible in how we interact.
That is such a great piece of advice. And in all honesty, this show, the world, currently what's going on, it cannot be completed without us talking about what is happening across the world. Our hearts are heavy looking at the people in Gaza. The parents are losing children. Children are losing their lives. It makes my heart heavy just talking about it right now. Only they know what they are going through. We see videos, we see pictures, and we feel it. So we can only imagine what they are going through. But I do believe their test from Allah is patience, and they will be rewarded at the highest levels. I've read something somewhere the other day that said when Allah is giving out the reward for patience, a woman will think to herself that I wish I was in labor my entire life so that I could get that reward. So we know Allah is elevating their status. And like you said, we have to have this firm faith that Allah is the all-wise and He knows why He's doing what He's doing. But when we look at it, shouldn't we feel grateful for the life that we have? And I know patience and gratitude hold the highest reward from Allah. So if their test is patience, then surely ours, here, looking at this, knowing what we have, the safety, the security, our homes, our food, our freedom, should we not be grateful as individuals to say, you know what, Ya Allah, thank you. We make so much shukr, because the word shukr, the opposite of that is ungrateful. And that word in Arabic is kufr. And we really, really need to be the shakir when it comes to being grateful. And when we look across, I think that it's so important to find this gratitude within us, to teach it to our children, and to make them understand what they need to be grateful for in life.
Absolutely. I don't think you can re-emphasize that point enough. Grateful for our deen, because we come from a religion that enforces you to speak up against oppression. Grateful for your deen that enforces you to stand up for people who don't have, to become a voice for the voiceless. And when you talk about the privileges we have around us, understand that when you are grateful for your privileges, and I am calling it privileges because the basic things of understanding that you can breathe, you can walk, you can have water, you can eat, you don't have to ration your family's food, you don't have to be writing your family's names on their hands in case somebody finds them later, where you have the gratefulness of the privileges of understanding that you don't need to worry about where your children are sleeping tonight, where you don't have to worry about their clothing, where you don't have to worry about their meal, they're going to a school. Those privileges that you have got, basic human needs, gives you a responsibility to be able to say, I have to do something with my privilege. Wow. I have to use my privilege to be able to speak up and to do something for someone else. And that shows gratefulness in action.
In all honesty, I think you summed it up, everything that we have to be grateful for, because we just need to look around us for 1 minute and we'll find things to be grateful for. So we need to find gratitude within ourselves. But I am truly grateful that you have blessed us with your presence on the show. I want to acknowledge you, Zaira. You have done tremendous work. You continue to do tremendous work. Really, you are such an inspiration to the community. You are such a motivation to everyone whose life that you touch. So thank you so much. And I really, really make a lot of dua that Allah give you a long life to be able to spread everything that you are spreading. But I want to ask you one final question. If this microphone that you have on today was connected to 8 billion people around the world, and you had 30 seconds to give them a message, what message would it be?
Don't underestimate the power that you have. Don't underestimate the strength that you have. You may think you're just one voice, but one voice and the ripple effects of that voice can effect sustainable and impactful change in the lives of others. So when you stand up every day and you understand that you have your anchor as your base, understand the power that you hold with it and the influence that you hold for people around you. And those ripple effects are long lasting.
Wow, that is amazing. Zaira, once again, Jazakallah for joining us. And I know our viewers have found this so inspiring. I hope you have taken from it and understand that our children need to be shaped by us, because there is a world out there trying to shape our children, and they don't care what shape they make our children into. So shape your children into the best Muslims that they could be, so that they go forward and shape the ummah in our lifetime and theirs. This is motivation, and let me motivate you.